Today we're going to be talking about the NFHS Points of Emphasis, specifically the reducing illegal contact. It's one of the points of emphasis, and they specifically said post play, off ball, and hand checks. And then they wrote a thing. If you haven't gone into the rules book and read the points of emphasis, I suggest you do that because it's a big, long couple pages worth of explanation of what they mean. So it kind of helps give you an idea of what they're looking for. But we're going to go over some video today to hopefully get every one of those points, and we can about it and hopefully learn something. Let's start with hand checks. Okay, now I'm going to play it fast again, but the call by the official was out of bounds. Clearly, this isn't an out of bounds meeting. It's about hand checks. So where do you think we would see or have a hand check on this play? Or is this a good no call?
Right there.
They call the armbar.
Well, you can't impede the guy with the ball, right? I mean, the ball handler, and he's going to the basket. However, he doesn't have a defensive position in front of him. He's on the side. I'm not sure if that's a hand check. And correct me if I'm wrong, Joshua.
So the rules book, when it comes to hand checks, is nothing to do with, I shouldn't say it has nothing to do with, but the rule says nothing about freedom of movement or inhibiting movement or anything of that nature. It's about putting your hands on a ball handler. You cannot put your hands on a player that is handling the ball, holding or dribbling. So they don't care. You could say, well, he didn't inhibit it. He was able to keep dribbling, he didn't really do anything. The rules they're not saying that they don't care whether it's inhibiting him. You are inhibiting him simply by putting your hands on that player. Okay, so at least that's the intent of the way they wrote the rule. They just don't want players putting their hands on someone else because it leads to further rough play initially in the beginning of the game, maybe not so much. And then the second quarter, it's a little bit more of a hand. And then third quarter, maybe they're guiding them a little or even pushing. Fourth quarter, they're pushing them out of the way where they want them to go. And we're not calling it because we've let it build up over time. So we go back to the slow here. The first thing we do when we look for hand checks is you need to look to see I'm going to pause it here. Is the player reaching out to put their hand on the player, right? Because if their hands are back and the dribbler comes into that player and their hand is on them because they moved in toward them, that wouldn't be a hand check. Do we agree? Because I'm not trying to put my hands on you. I'm guarding and you came to me and my hands touched you because you came into me. But if I'm reaching out, as he does here, I think he reaches out to touch the opponent, that is a hand check. Now, I'm going to let the initial touch go because kids are kids. Kids sometimes realize, oh, I shouldn't do that, or okay, I'll pull it back. And if they do pull it back almost right away, then we've got nothing. But what does the kid do in this play?
Continues.
He keeps it on the whole way. Now, you say, well, wait a second. You can get a good view here. Look at that. It's the back of his hand. He doesn't have the front of his hand on the player, so that's okay, right?
No.
No. The back of the hand is what? It's part of what? It's part of the hand, back of the hand. So it's a hand check. So whether it's the front part with your palm or the back part, you cannot put your hand on the opponent. So since he puts it on and he keeps it on all the way down here. Okay, now, yes, the dribbler's now coming into him here where it's coming. He's now doesn't have an extended arm, but he put him on in there initially. The hand is on that player because he put it on him. Do we agree?
Yes.
Yes.
And then
I agree.
And what happens at the end? Kind of a jumble.
I mean, does he get in front of him to try to take a charge? He's not established position, but
But there's some contact happening here that could maybe be a foul one way or the other. Do we agree? Could maybe be.
I would
Oh,
say
yeah.
from the looks of it, looks like he's got a hold, have a hold of that arm as he's going up for the shot.
Could be a block, could be a hold, could be a push by the offense, could be a charging, could be lots of things. But if we get the hand check, we don't have to worry about this contact at the end because he illegally kept his hand on him the whole way. Do we understand that concept?
Yes.
Yeah.
We call that hand check and say, oh, I don't like hand checks. It doesn't really do anything. But if I get that hand check, one, you're setting the tone that you cannot put your hands on your opponent. And then two, anything that happens after, you could say, hey, I got the hand check. See, that's what I'm trying to clean up, coach. If I don't clean that up, then we're going to have all this mess underneath. Or if you're getting, I wouldn't go to the coach and proactively give him that information. But if you have issues, coach, we get that. It cleans everything else up. All right. Hand check number 2. Okay, this one, I believe the official does call a hand check. I'm going to start at the beginning again, then we'll play it slow. I'm going to tell you what I don't like about this play. I definitely think that was a hand check. Let's watch it slow and up close. He's got 2 hands on him, right? I didn't really clip it. I don't think I really clipped it for the hand check, but looks like he sticks his hands out, puts 2 hands on him. That's not good defense. All right. But here's what I don't like about this. Who called the foul?
The lead.
Lead, yeah.
That's right. The lead called the foul, which means the lead's probably ball watching, and the lead's got lots of else to look at, doesn't he not?
He's
He's got
got
4 in the lane.
4 people in the lane right now.
Those 4 people in the lane. So if he might have a secondary defender situation, he needs to be aware of watching those players. He might have the matchup underneath the basket where the ball might come over there. He needs to know what's going on there. He cannot be watching the ball. And sometimes I know we say, you want to get the foul right? We want to get the play right. So if you've got to reach, as long as you don't reach too far, you want to get the play right. Let me play this again. Look how late the call was too. Okay, which leads me to believe he was gonna let his partner maybe get it, and since his partner didn't get it, he got it. All right. Now,
Hey, Josh, do you
Yes.
think he was waiting a little bit to see how it would finish?
okay, that's a great point. He might be saying, all right, let's see how this develops. But here's the problem. He shouldn't be watching that area, right? It's not his play to watch from start to beginning to develop to finish. It's him to, if it comes into his area, he can help pick it up, but he needs to watch all the other guys. Do we agree? When you come across a lane to help with a call, when we say we got to get the call right, we're talking about those bang, bang train wreck plays that everyone in the gym is like, how do they not get that foul? That's where we as partners got to come across to our area and get. And a hand check, even if it's a point of emphasis, hand check situations is not a reach over the aisle into your partner's area and get. Do we all agree with that?
Yes.
I don't care how bad the hand check is. I really don't. It could be a bad hand check. It just doesn't rise to the level of me having to come out of my area to help my partner. It only makes my partner look weak or not trust me when I come in. So I'm not gonna come and get that.
So then my question to that is, if the coach were to say something of, if you didn't call that hand check and the play went on, would you just say that was my partner's call? Would you say you missed it? What?
So you're asking if you didn't.
Okay, I'm asking if the lead didn't call it during that clip, if the lead never called the foul for the hand check and your partner didn't call it, would you just let it go, or would you just say, hey, that's my partner's area, I can't call it?
I'm going to say nothing. Okay. If the
Throw your
coach,
partner under the bus.
if the coach gets on me and says, Josh, that was a hand check, or that's a foul, or what? If they ask me as the lead, I'm going to say, I don't know, coach. My partner had the best look at that play, or he was right on top of it, coach. It's never going to be, it wasn't my area. Never say it's not your area, because really the whole court is everyone's area when it comes to fouls. We can get any safety foul that we see if it's a far away. We can help with the train wrecks. And it just tells the coach, I'm not going to call that. I saw it, coach. You're right, but I'm not going to call it because that's not my area. That's not what we want to portray to the coaches. Well, I just simply, a positive, my partner had the best look at it, coach. My partner was right there on top of it. So he can still be angry, upset, but at least logically, yeah, okay. He was there. He made the decision. I'm letting Josh off the hook. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
That
you
makes
never
sense.
want to throw your partner under the bus. I always want to, just say, hey, coach, we may have missed that one, and we'll be aware of it going forward. But you never want to throw your partner under the bus. And I mean, you're there together, and you want to look like you're a team. And I just recently went through something like that in a seventh grade game. So I know what you're saying, but you never want to throw your partner under the bus.
Well, and especially, not especially, but even if you're working with a partner you don't like, and we all have officials that we don't like. We don't like them as people. We think they're bad people, or at least not people that we would hang out with. Doesn't mean during a game you are still the crew, you're still together. I don't like you, but I'm still going to say my partner got it. My partner who I don't like just made a call completely 100% opposite of what I think it was. I'm still going to say I had the same call, because if we fall apart as a unit out there, then all bets are off.
So is that something you discuss? So let's say that's a first half call. Is that something you discuss in your officials room at halftime between the two?
As far as not throwing each other under the bus?
No, as far as if you don't blow that whistle to say, I'm not throwing you under the bus by making the call or not saying it's not my call, it was his call, but you say, hey, I clearly saw a hand check on that. You didn't call it. What did you see? Do you talk about those at halftime to course
Yes.
correct? In the
My response is, how did you see it in my area? Quite frankly.
You can bring it up in the halftime and say, hey, what did you see on that play? Or do you remember that play? He might not even remember, because especially if he didn't have a whistle, he might have didn't even register in his brain that was anything. But yeah, I thought there was a hand check. Do you remember when that coach was yelling at me about the hand check? Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, what did you see? Because from my angle, it looked like a hand check. Talk about it positively, and you can say, I saw this, and then maybe he'll say, yeah, I missed it. You're right. Or maybe he'll say it totally wasn't because whatever the reason may be. So yeah, you could bring it up. Even at the end of the game when the game's over, bring it up, talk about it. Post-gaming is almost as important, if not, in my opinion, than pre-gaming, because you have plays that you've seen, you missed, you think your partner missed, or any of that you can now talk it through, because if you wait more than 1 or 2 days, you might forget. So post-game, those plays. All right, let me show one more hand check and we'll move on to the next. I want to try and stay on as much as I can now. Here's a good, let's do two more. I've shown this one before. No whistle on the play. I'm going to play it fast again quick so you can see it happens in the middle of the court, division line circle.
I think that was an acting job, to be honest with you. It looks he was a great actor.
He might have put a little theater into it, but let's first start off with, since I put this in the video, it's not why I used it for today, but he definitely has a legal guarding position on the ball handler. Do we agree?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so he's legal in his position, but what does he do right there?
He puts his hands out.
It looks like the offensive player is starting to beat him and go around him. So he reaches out and puts 2 hands on the ball handler.
Yeah.
And then there's a little bit of a collision and he falls down, and maybe he put some theater into it, but there's contact and he falls down. That needs a whistle, in my opinion. Block, charge, or something. But I say, as soon as he does this, you've got your out, because 2 hands on a ball handler is a hand check, and it's almost 99% of the time an automatic foul.
Is it that, or do you interpret that he's putting his hands up to protect himself for the collision that's coming by the guard coming at him?
That's a foul.
You could say that. You could say that, but it looks to me as though, come on.
It's a blocking foul or it's a no call to me.
It looks to me as though he's like, look,
No, it's a hand check.
You're getting
Yes.
around.
There's a hand check right there.
Yeah. Well,
Okay. To me, yeah, if you want to, now again, if you can justify yourself, I thought he was, okay, fine. But as soon as I reach out, any contact, in my opinion, is on me, because I'm not putting my hands up and then the dribbler ran into my hands. I reached out. So
Okay,
that's
thank you.
all right. Here's a transition video, which will take us on to post play. The second specific plays that the NFHS wants us to watch this season. Okay, happens down in the post because it's a post play, which we're going to move on to next, but it's still a hand check play. I'm going to play it fast again. And then we'll start again. I want everyone to remember, just
Okay.
because you have a
yeah, so you can extended hand out.
just because you
and
have a
raises it up.
ball handler in the post does not mean you allow extra hands, right? They're a ball handler anywhere on the floor. A ball handler, you cannot put your hands on. I don't like, ball comes in, he kind of shoves him a little with his arm bar.
Right. Do you call a foul right there, or do you call a foul when his arm is extended?
You
Because as you go through with the video, then okay, right there.
You could
And
call
then-
a foul here.
Yeah.
I honestly think this is an okay pass, because you want to try to allow the game to play. And not that the rules state that it needs to affect the play, but if he shoves him, and this didn't really affect what the post player is going to do at this point, right? He wants to get a hold of the ball. Now he wants to make his move. So I'm okay with a pass here. Definitely illegal contact, but okay, let's see what he's going to do. But then what does he do after that?
Right there, the hand pushing him out.
Hands
right
him.
there.
He
Hand
puts
check.
another hand on him saying, nope, I'm not going to let you buy me.
Yeah,
That
so
is a foul and is a great call, even though he ends up pulling it off. Come on, catch up video. Even though he ends up pulling it off,
but the official calls the whistle a little bit late after it happens.
all right, so let me talk about that real quick. Being a guy who clips a lot of videos, I have found that when the whistle blows for a foul or a violation, it's usually about a second, sometimes a second and a half after the actual act happens. Why? Because our brain is processing everything that happened, especially like me specifically. I tend to have a slow whistle because I like to see the play happen. Yes, I see the foul, but how's it going to develop? Is he starting to make a move that I'm going to allow that illegal contact so then he gets to the bucket and gets 2 points? So because I'm processing and trying to let the play develop, my whistle's a little bit slower. So it's usually after. Now, you don't want to wait much longer than a second to have it happen, but there's a reaction time that humans have. So foul, boop. So when we watch video and we slow it down, we could say, well, why didn't he blow his whistle right here? Well, he probably was getting ready to, but his body takes him a while to get there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think on that video, yeah, it was a little late, but I think as soon as he saw it and he said, I'm not letting him do it anymore. I think initially he let the hand go and then said, oh, now it's on too long. I'm got it. Well, by that time, the kid had pulled the hand off. Well, it's too late. It's already a foul just because my whistle goes off later. No whistle on the play, down in the post. Look at all the action that's happening. It happens in the circle area. Now, ultimately, nothing happened, right? The ball got passed out and around. But is this something that we need to get as an official? Back, forth, push. He kind of shoved him to the ground. He was awkwardly standing. Did he go to the ground because he didn't have a great footing? Did he shove him that hard? What do you guys think? Are we calling something on this, or are we letting this play out? Do you think, as the ball comes down,
it started a little before that, Josh, with the guy, you know, in black pushing a little bit. So sometimes the best thing to do is just call a double foul.
well, let's look at this play. All right, the ball comes down here. This is clearly a set play. He's setting a screen.
Right there.
Okay, he gets around the screen, no problem. And then he posts up or tries to post up. It looks
I
like
think
the
there he
black.
loses-
It looks like
yeah,
the
he loses
black.
his footing.
Go ahead.
No, I think he loses his footing there trying to guard. And then, of course, the team in the white, I mean, he's trying to get position, but again, the other guy's trying to guard, but he loses his position and falls down. I'd let it go.
I think the black player, the defender, is doing a really nice job of trying to front
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
got
his
a partial
opponent,
front
right?
on. Yeah.
And I think you're right. He got shoved a little by the offensive player, I think, which is why he lost his footing. But okay, but then he kind of shoved him down. Is it because he lost his footing because he got shoved? Look at the official, the lead official. All right.
It looks like he's looking right at it.
He's watching the whole play. That's all he's watching. I'm going to trust that the official is on top of this play. And if anything sinister happens, he's going to get. But because the ball ended up going around and it didn't keep the ball from getting passed into the post, right? Because I think the defender was doing a nice job. If anything, we've got an offensive foul here. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it would be a push on the offense.
So the Federation is saying we need to get this illegal contact so it doesn't, escalate to something worse. But sometimes this illegal contact, we can wait a second or two and see what happens. Because even though he went to the ground, I think he went to the ground more because he kind of just lost his balance. Yes, maybe by a shove or a push a little bit. But then the ball didn't come in and there was no advantage gained. Do we agree with that?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's find another one then, see if we can break that down.
I know you're down 3, Connor, but you got to take the best shot, you think.
You do.
Trying to get to Kreidler in the post, maybe?
If that happens to be a 3, that happens to be a 3.
Okay, now same situation, but as we can see, it's going a little bit longer. The ball's being passed around.
You got a couple fouls on that guy.
Do you think, let's move it back all the way and I'll just play it slow. Do you think that ball could have been passed into the post if he wasn't getting shoved
Absolutely.
and arm
Yes.
swung right?
Yep.
Look at that arm bar. In his back is arm bar in there. And the
That's a
whole
foul.
reason
He's driven him 4 feet out of the block.
yeah, he can't get that pass in there because that defender is illegally contacting him. I think that's something we have to get.
Yeah, the push right there in the back.
There's one. There's at least 1 or 2 others.
There's that.
Now,
Right
Yeah,
there is
right
where I
there's a
should.
whole
That's
other
where
one.
you would get it right there.
Now there are teams like these. There are teams like these that are perennially physical. There are actually conferences like these that are perennially physical, and they're like, oh, that's the so-and-so conference. That's just the way they play. Okay, but that's the way they play because we allow them to play that way.
Right.
And if you start calling it, you might get some grief from the coach initially. And then maybe later in the game, they'll adjust. But then if all the officials start to call that stuff, that conference will then start playing better. We shouldn't allow them to beat the crap out of each other just because that's the way they've always done it. And that's what the Federation wants us to get is don't let that stuff happen because it could escalate into, maybe the kid throws an elbow in his face. He's been pushing me all night. Bam, I'm going to get him. Right? Now, I'm not saying it's right, but out of frustration, then kids do things that they shouldn't do. All right. How about this one? They had a foul. I'm going to play it fast again. Foul right away when the ball comes in.
I'm letting it go because he still has the advantage.
Did anything happen with that little initial bump? It's kind of like that other play that we watched. Remember where he gave him the shove with his forearm right as the ball came in? And the official said, okay, nothing really happened. Let's see what the post player is going to do. I think
I would have, but he was reaching completely over his shoulder is where I would have called it.
Okay,
Like,
you're right.
To me, his right arm is completely reaching over the offensive player's right arm.
Hey.
You are correct. But what happened to the ball?
It still got passed into the
He caught
post
it
player.
cleanly and firmly and is ready to make a move on this guy, but you just took away that possible advantage. Okay, now I agree. By rule, this is a foul. 100% it's a foul. But if we allow this initial bump to go and see what happens, I guarantee you if the defender wants to be sinister, he's going to do something else. And then you can get him. You can say to yourself, okay, I just saw that bump. I'm watching now because you shouldn't have gone in there. But since he caught it, I'm going to see what happens. And then when he does one more, reach or push or arm bar, then you can get him. But I say let that first one go because it didn't dislodge the ball. It didn't cause him to come off balance where he had to take a second or two to regain himself. He caught it and he was getting ready to make a move. And then we took that away from him. Does that make sense? That's some people call it a higher level of officiating, and it's not really a higher level. It's just I've told guys this before, you need to be able to increase your level of threshold for contact. If you call all the contact that you see, you're not going to have much of a game because by rule, contact is a foul. Now they also put in incidental contact, right? Which allows us to rule on certain contact that didn't affect. And the intent and the purpose of the rules, as they state in the front of the rules book, is to make sure that no player gets an advantage over or creates a disadvantage of another player. So in there, I don't think that there was, I know we don't officiate to disadvantage, but that's part of basketball. All right.
Layup at the 10. If you like really advanced post play, we've got two players for you to watch. Number 12.
Another foul down in the post. I'm going to play it fast again. And if you watch, while you're watching the play, it looks like the official is trying to proactively talk to the players.
Layup at the 10. If you
assuming
like
just by
really
looking at the body language.
Post play, we've got two players for you to watch. Number 12.
And if we zoom in, we can kind of see the defender kind of has his arm in there to hold him. Okay. Anyone want to make a comment before I make mine? Or do you want me to make my comment first?
Initially, it looked like the defender hooked his left arm around, all the way around sort of the waist or just above the waist of the red player.
I think it's early in the game, so they're trying to set a tone, or they knew it was going to be a physical post play. So I mean, we're only a minute and a half into the game, 2.5 minutes. I think they're just trying to set a precedence.
I think it's a good partial front. I let the play develop and see what happens.
All right, so here's what I got. I agree with, I don't know who it was, I'm sorry. I agree with maybe they're setting the tone early. And I get that. I really do. However, he's giving kind of a partial front. Yes, he has his arm around him and he's kind of holding him a little. I got that. And yes, it looks like the official, if you look, is trying to help him out by talking to him. Okay, that's good. But what does the offensive player do to try and get free of this situation or to try and get himself a better position? Does he do anything?
No, he never fights for position.
He just stands there and lets the guy do what he's doing to him. In my opinion, and I know again, it's not exactly how the rule is written, but the kid's got to do something. It's not really illegal for me to put my hand around. He's not a ball handler. I got my hand on his hip. How do I know he's holding him? It didn't look like he was trying to go anywhere. So I'm not really inhibiting his movement because he's not moving, right? So I'm letting that play on because nothing happened. And the player did nothing to warrant me to call a foul because he just stood there. No comments. All right. Geez, I'm not good.
Hold your whistle.
All right. One more post play. And then we're going to move on to off ball. Some post play here where the circle is. We see it. Let's keep an eye on those guys. All right. I'm going to play it slow so you can watch, but everyone saw that, right? We were all watching those players going back and forth at it, right? Who's doing who to what? Who's the culprit? Are they both?
The offensive guy.
They're both displacing each other.
All right. Now let's watch this again. I'm going to play it a little bit slower. Looks like the offense is saying, all right, I got position. But whose arm is kind of over the offense at this point?
Defense.
All right. So the defense is not necessarily a foul at this point, but the defense is instigating a little here, don't you think?
Yep.
All right. So then what did you see? Watch the offensive player. Do you think he moves forward on his own? I'm going to back it up.
No, he's pushing him with his leg.
The defender is using his body and pushing him out. So again, illegal contact. Am I going to call a foul here? Probably not, but the defender is now causing illegal contact. Well, the offensive player says, I'm not going to let you just push me wherever. And he starts to now use his arms to ward off his defender. And he pushes a little. They're both going back and forth and back and forth. Who are you going to penalize in this case?
Nobody.
So the official, as the lead is watching this, the official is watching the entire situation as he should and evaluating. And look, let's say he's even trying to say something to him and they don't want to listen. They keep going. So he says, fine, I'm going to nail both of you. I think this is an excellent, excellent double foul situation. They're both at fault. One's kind of instigating, but then the other one's going back at it and they don't want to stop. The official tried to say, knock it off or whatever he said. They keep going. Fine, I'm going to get you both. This cleans up post play very, very quickly. Now,
So how do you make that known that it's a double call? Is it both hands up, or because normally it's one fist up or whatever to signify a foul? Is it then afterwards that he put both hands out or something to show that it was a double foul?
let me go back to the video and I'll show you.
Josh, too, while you're looking at this, I know it's not might be the topic, but what do you think about what the inbounder did after he inbounded the ball?
Let me check that after I look at the foul call here. So he up, okay, that's the right call, foul, because he stopped the clock for a foul. And then there is a signal for a double foul. Prelim, do you see him putting both hands out?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep, two hands out with fists. And that is a double foul. So everyone knows. And then, of course, you report it to the table so everyone knows.
Yeah.
All right, the throw in, you said? What does a thrower do? He doesn't come onto the court right away?
Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm letting that go.
He didn't wait long.
Look, there's a player right in front of him, so he's getting around, and then there's 2 post players there. He's not coming onto the floor. He wants to get around them, so he runs. I don't think that's anything sinister. So I'm going to let that play on. So double foul on that situation. Post play, neither of them want to listen to you. You're even trying to use your voice. Boop, good. Don't use a double foul on every situation. I've seen some officials make the call and didn't fit the crime, so to speak. Sometimes you have to just pick one. You know what? The defensive player is the one who started with the bumping. Boom, I'm going to get the defender then. Well, he just shoved him off. You could say, Coach, I saw that. But the reason he did it is he got bumped initially, and it took me a while to get my whistle. So I'm killing it there. Does that make sense? But many times a double foul is a great call, because if you don't know who to penalize, you don't want to penalize the defense because you don't know if it was their fault. Maybe you came in halfway through the banging back and forth, then get them both.
So my question is on that. What would be the outcome? Who would get the ball in that situation if it's a double foul?
Great question. So let's pull the video back up so I can speak specifically to this one. So we've got, where's the whistle? Here. Whistle is here. Where's the ball?
With red or black when an interruption.
Yeah. Do you see there's a dribbler right in front of the trail there?
Yes.
That's where the dribbler. So the black team has possession of the ball. The penalty for a double foul is there are no free throws. Even if one team is in the bonus and the other team is not, there are no free throws for a double foul. And you resume play at the point of interruption. So what is the point of interruption on this play?
Where the ball handler is on this play.
Right. The black team has the ball and they're right there at the 3-point circle. So you're going to bring it to the sideline and put it in bounds right there.
Is this sideline extended where he had the ball right there? Because on a game the other night, I saw something not quite the same play, but basically the ball was kind of right there, but they brought it all the way out to like the 20-foot lot or 28-foot mark.
In college, I'm not great at college rules, but in college, they do have the 4 designated spots for throw-ins. In high school, that is not the case. In high school, it is to the spot nearest the foul or violation.
Okay. Yeah, it was Carmel versus Hershey girls basketball.
Yeah, so if they brought it there, they didn't do it by the book. Now, if you bring it to the 28-foot mark, is it going to make a big difference? Probably not.
No, it wasn't material. They ended up getting the ball back, so it wasn't like it was a turnover situation. But yeah.
But if the ball is in a certain situation, it might be important to be exact to the book, whether it's on the end line or the sideline, and what advantage are they going to get? You know what I mean?
Josh, I have a question for you here, and I was refereeing a game with the other guy. Does it make a difference on which side you're on when you're handing the ball to the team?
You always want to box the players in.
Okay.
So you want to be furthest away from all the players instead of, like, oh, if there's players over here, I don't want to hand it in here because then I got to look and now the basket's over there. Right. So you always want to be farthest away from the players in the basket if you're the trail. And if you're the lead, you want to be farthest away from the players in the basket toward the sideline. And you're always obviously going to be on the end line. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Box the players in is always the best way to do it because that way you're always going to have players in your field of vision. What were we watching? We were watching.
Guys, I got a question real quick on that double foul. I'm in the rule book right now, and you got everything right. I'm just wondering, where do I find that penalty section in the rule book? Because I got the double foul, you got everything right. I just don't see where the wording is, where it says penalty, double foul, point of interruption.
You have to go to the. I'll look it up right now.
Because I literally have the definition of double foul. You guys got everything.
Okay.
Right.
So
I was just to see the penalty. That's it.
Side note. Does anybody have the mobile app for the rule book? You should get it. I know it costs money for an Illinois official, but
is it awesome?
So nice because I always have it with me. Even when my rule book is in the house, upstairs. I don't have to leave my computer. I can just pull it up on my phone. So it's under fouls and penalties, but you have to go to the, oh, where is it?
10-7-1C.
Yeah, there's like a section at the end of
10-7.
10-7. It's
10
at the end
Oh,
of
yeah.
10-7, at the end of Rule 10.
Oh yeah, it's fouls and penalties.
Look,
Yeah.
it says
Yeah.
penalties.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the summary of the penalties, and it tells you exactly what each foul warrants as far as free throws, no free throws, 1-and-1, point of interruption, all that.
Yeah. Thank you. Got it. Thank you kindly. Thank you, whoever said that. Thanks, Josh.
All right. Remember, we're on off ball now. Off ball fouls. Did you see it?
A push on White.
20 White.
Watch the ball. It gets passed in the division line, the player who had the ball initially.
Oh yeah, push all day.
Here it is.
Right there.
That's a foul. That's a foul. Did anything happen because of it? No. But what happened was that player just got shoved by another player. And if that doesn't get a whistle, the defender's going to hold that upstairs and he's going to get his due when it comes. Right?
Any, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Josh, but anything like an elbow up above the shoulder, you got to call that, right? That's, look at that. That's right up above the shoulder.
Yeah, okay. So I don't like absolutes. Never have. Nothing. I am never going to say you have to call whatever happens. But to your point, this isn't just a push and get out of my way. Even if it was down on his waist, I'm calling it because he's pushing him out of the way so he can possibly help get the ball. But this is up toward his face. Right?
Yeah,
That's an
absolutely.
easy.
I'm calling
That's
that.
an easy team control foul.
Now, you could say, well, the new trail is watching the ball in the matchup, right? But this play happens so close. The trail can get this so easily. You cannot ignore this. You have to see this, even though your primary focus is the ball. Do we agree that it's close enough where
Yeah,
you don't
I mean,
see
it's
that,
right in front of them.
yeah, you've got to see it. Now, let's move back here. You've got your center coming down. In my opinion.
So would that be the center's call, even though it's in front of him?
No.
I would say the trail needs to get that. If the trail doesn't get it, I think, honestly, the center or the lead can get that. Now, is it a train wreck? No. So can we pass on it? Yes. But I think if the center sees that and comes in strong and runs all the way into that play from where he's at, because the center's looking across there, he can sell that I got that. And when the coaches go on video and check this out, they're going to say, Johnny, what did you do that for? This isn't oh, I can't believe you came and got that. Are you really kidding me? No, this is it's a foul. Now, again, if you pass on it, they're probably not going to pick it up in the video either. So you're good one way or the other. But in my opinion, again, if you don't get that, even though nothing happened, that kid's going to hold it upstairs. And I'm telling you, if the game starts to get physical, he's going to make sure he gets that kid because you just shoved me. I'm going to shove you back. I'm going to get my due at one point. That's what they don't want to get. The Federation doesn't want to get out of control is you let one go, and the next one's going to worse, and the next one's going to worse, and then you got a fight on your hands.
So Josh, you got nothing on that defender extending his arms initially on the first contact before White kind of pushes him back?
On this play that I just played?
Yes.
Foul right there. I'm calling a team control foul on White. What do you have?
Well, the first time you ran through it, I saw that Black extended his arms in the spirit of hand check there. I just wondered if you had anything on that.
Okay, so hand checks only apply to ball handlers.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
If you think that the Black defender here is inhibiting this player's freedom of movement, you could have a hold. you could call that. I wouldn't, because it doesn't look like he's inhibiting the white player's movement.
Okay.
It looks like the white player changed direction and said, "Get out of my way." Boom.
Yeah, I'm calling that. with
Well, the
the
white player's
right
also
there.
grabbing the defender's arm there as well.
Yeah, so you could maybe have that too, right? Yeah, I can
Yeah,
see
he's
that.
holding him.
Right. He
He's
totally has
holding,
his
then he
arm.
does the forearm to the chops.
Yeah, I'm calling that right away.
Holding his hand right here, and then he's kind of like pulling him out of the way and then shoving him. That's a foul. We got to get that.
Absolutely. Yeah, because on the next time down the court, he's going to look for retaliation.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And it could have resulted in a dangerous play. If you look, I don't think he intentionally did it, but the offensive player's right foot stepped on the defensive player's left foot. It could cause a trip situation, which could have caused an injury, or it could have resulted in an injury. Like right about there, he almost steps like right on the defender's left foot as he's pushing him up in the chin. I don't think that was intentional on that part. Like
No,
right
but
there.
right. So the point
It's
is,
a combination of the two.
the point is, you may even take some grief from a coach of, really, you're going to call that? But again, coach, if I don't call that, and I've said this to coaches before, if I don't call that, it's going to get worse and worse. And in the fourth quarter, your kid's going to get a chin full of elbow. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. And most coaches will go, okay, even if they don't like it, okay, at least I understand your logic. Might not admit it to you, but they get it. All right. Throw in. Here's another throw in, off ball. All right. Did you miss it? Happens in the paint.
Great call, Josh.
Oh, right there in the push off.
All right. Now it looks like a push off. I agree. It looks like they pushed off the kid, but let's watch it slow and up close. Does it look like he pushed him there? Or was the kid in the black really giving some theater?
That was some theater.
Okay, so he's acting there, and he's like, "Oh, nothing. Okay, I'm gonna get through this guy." Now you can't see it from the angle of the video. You can't see as well what happened, but he put his shoulder into the chest of that player and used his shoulder to move the player out of the way.
Absolutely, yeah. You always get the second person.
Which is funny because that might not have been picked up if he didn't do this.
Yeah, that's an
That
acting.
totally put the spotlight on him. Like, really? You're going to do that? Okay, I'm watching you. Oh. Right?
Boom. Yeah, he laid his shoulder right into his chest.
And again, if you let that go, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Maybe not even from the kid retaliating. That big kid now knows I can get away with that. The next one, it's going to be a little bit bigger. The next one, I'm going to shove him out of the way because we're letting him get away with it. Some kids, even though I like to think all kids are good kids, generally speaking, some kids really know how to take advantage of what they're given. And they're so competitive, they're going to do things they're not allowed to do because you're letting them do it. Some kids
Yeah, I was one of those. Well, we don't want to grill your crew too much on that one, but I would have preferred to see Trail get that one. I mean, that's kind of right that should be right what you're looking at.
Okay, but
unless the ball
Trail is too engaged with the coach. Yeah, he's too engaged with the coach.
The coach didn't like a call. I guess he's maybe, now listen, I don't know. This clip got started here, right? So I don't know what's going on up to this point. Has he been talking to him for 30 seconds and now it's time to start reffing again? Maybe. If he's only been talking for 5 seconds or so, as the lead official, wait. Just wait. Let him finish this little conversation so he can put in 100% focus on this throw-in. I don't know if the lead is at fault here or if the trail was just waiting too long. Did he blow his whistle? Let me see. I don't know if he blew his whistle to put
no.
Isn't he supposed to hold his hand up to say, there you go? And then, I would have never.
The play was over by the time he was even ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, it could be the lead's fault because he was impatient and he didn't want. It could be because the kept talking and talking and talking and talking, and the lead's like, we got to get going. Tweet, here we go. Sometimes, and you should pregame this. Listen, if you get caught up talking to a coach and it's too long, I'm going to blow my whistle. So you know we're going to start, and you've got to cut that off. You've got to say, I got a ref, coach. You've got to cut it off. Because a coach, as we all know, will eat your ear off if you let him. He'll talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. If you keep giving him the time of day, he's going to keep talking. You got to finally say, okay, that's it. I get it. We got to move on.
Josh, can I ask you something real quick before
Yes.
you move on from that
Yes.
throwing? How do you handle contact during throwing before the ball is live, during dead ball? How do you handle that when you have a play that happens, like if you haven't even handed the ball to the player yet?
So the official is still holding the ball and hasn't even handed it in yet.
Right. That's where I struggle with when there's contact there, either ignored and I just wanted to
I'm
hear
going to say, hey, ho, wait, haven't even started yet. Guys, okay? All about warning. Now, if you've warned them 3 times and the guy goes in, the conduct's got to be pretty severe for me to do anything.
Okay.
If I tried to stop and they keep going, I guess you could have a foul, but then what is it? It's a dead ball foul, which is why it has to be severe for me, because any foul, any contact that happens during a dead ball must be considered incidental unless it's intentional or flagrant.
Right.
Dead ball foul, I have the ball, a dead ball, I mean, so if you got to call a foul, that's going to be intentional or flagrant. So just warn them. Hey, sometimes again, depending on the game, you can joke with them a little bit like, guys, we haven't even started yet. What are you doing? And most of the guys, okay, and they calm down because they just want to run their play. They want to get the advantage. So don't worry about penalizing at that point.
Okay, thank you.
All right. 8 o'clock. One more off ball, and then I got to finish with an ender. It's been my thing lately. Here's another kind of off ball play. The unit was on the far side of the court. I believe that's opposite table over there, in front of the center. Let's zoom in and take a look slow. It looks like he's trying to make a cut, and what does the defender do?
Holds him.
Grabs him.
And he doesn't he makes a nice move, steps forward and then rolls. The defender knows he's beat and he grabs him.
Say he's holding him right there.
Too many officials, and I'm probably one of them, let that go because look, he's got an advantage. He just took away this nice little play. He was going to maybe get a pass, right? But that's a foul. If they grab a jersey, that's a foul. You got to get that. And if you get that early, that stops right away. So I thought that was a good call. That takes a lot of guts because, again, I want to let the play develop. It had no effect on the play. Well, that's true. But some fouls you need to get, even though the effect was little. And that's why we get paid money to ref, right? Because we have to make that judgment. I'm letting that go, but I'm not letting this go. Well, they were the same. Well, they weren't the same because of whatever it may be. I think anytime that jersey is grabbed, that's not good defense. That's got to be a foul. Do we agree with that statement?
Yep.
I'm going to say your silence means yes.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
All right.
I think another thing about when you get those early off ball calls and the coaches rarely see them, so then they have nothing to argue about. And in my experience, it really sets a good precedent when I can get those calls early where they have very little to say to me all game long because they know, I'm covering my bases. I'm getting everything.
Right. And we don't want to overdo it. We don't want to be the off-ball king and have, 8 calls in the first quarter and all our calls are off. I mean, if they're there, obviously, but don't overdo it and get every little thing because you have to let the game also develop a flow. But you got to get the stuff, again, that matters. And a jersey grab, or remember 2 hands on a player, that's not good defense. that stuff is easy. You could say, coach, he just grabbed his jersey. He held him from run. That's not defense. Did you see what happened? The ball was shot. The ball was shot, and what happened to the net?
Oh, it's held up on top of there.
And the referees about this.
And two refs, two of them blew their whistle, pointed up and said, oh, the net's stuck up there. Watch this. They're both pointing. Can anyone on this call today tell me where in the rules book does it say if the net gets caught, we have to stop it and fix it?
Nothing.
Where does it
Nowhere.
say that's our
No way.
I don't think that's in the rule book at all. Is it really?
Now, some would say, well, you know, it's supposed to be hanging properly. Yeah, it's supposed to be hanging properly, but it doesn't say that if it gets stuck, you got to fix it. Some would say, well, you know, it's not fair to the other team if it's not hanging down. Okay, I get that. Are you going to stop play every time that net gets caught up there?
No.
You're stopping the flow of the game. What if you're taking away advantages of them maybe fast breaking? I'm going to do nothing. And then when there's a dead ball, with a natural stoppage in play, then you can say, go fix the net. But I'm not going to fix it until that whistle is blown for some other reason.
Josh, this is kind of a reach here, but from what this is a reach here. So hear me out. Is that the worst case scenario is that someone goes for a dunk or a layup and the ball comes out of it passes through the cylinder, but then comes back out because of that situation. That's the only reason I could see why someone would kill it. But yeah, I don't know. I never know what to do there other than not just let it be, right? Or dead ball, like you said.
Yeah, Gerald is very smart. He invoked Rule 2.3. Do you guys know what Rule 2.3 is?
No, it's
Yeah, the ref has the decision to make a
anything that's not in the rule book, the referee gets to decide what to do.
right.
So, okay, you could use that and say, yes, I'll do it. But my point is the rules doesn't say, and a lot of people do it. A lot of people will stop playing and fix the net. And that's why I bring it up, because I think it's interrupting the game. We are not supposed to do it. We're not supposed to do it. Again, we can make that ruling because of 2-3, but I think it's just let it go on. And you're right, Frank. If you do have a situation as rare as that may be, maybe then you can address it at that point. You could say the reason it didn't go through is the net was caught up. I don't know how that would go over, but my point is that's probably going to happen once every 1,000 times, maybe even more.
agreed. Thank you.
Right. But if you're going to fix the net then, and some people said, well, I usually give it once. I'll fix it once. And then after that, well, then why are you fixing it once? Right. What's the point of doing it once if you're not going to continue to do it? If you do it every time, then I get it. At least you're consistent. But I don't know. I don't like it. I think it's bad practice, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I never call it.
Rule 2-3. That's really good. I'm glad you brought that up.
I mean, if it goes, even if it's stuck, if it goes through the cylinder and then goes out, can you technically count it even though the net's stuck?
Well, by rule, the ball has to pass through the basket, right? All the way through the net. You could make a case that because it was caught, it wasn't properly set, or the basket wasn't in proper condition. You could make that case. And most people in the gym would probably buy into it and say, yeah, okay. But ultimately, if we're going to stop play for that, what you should do is at the beginning of the game, say, you need to replace that net. It's too long, right? Because the reason got caught is because the net is too long. So that's really the first rule that's been broken that you've allowed. Now, I'm not suggesting you do that, but that's kind of the logic around it. So, all right, what do you guys think? We get a good handle on hand checks, post play, and off ball?
Yeah.
We didn't get to play a ton of clips of each, but hopefully gets us a little dabble. And for most of us, with the season starting next week, some of us it started this week here in Illinois, at least. kind of gets you ready to go. So thanks for coming out. All right, before I let you guys go, I want to show you the schedule for next month. Next month we are, let's see, December 15. Again, it's the third Thursday of the month, and we're going to talk about no calls. That should be fun.
Yeah.
Calls that should be no calls, calls that shouldn't be no calls, that was a no call, but it should have been a foul. It's going to cover a variety of things, I think. And I think that might be fun to go over that. So I think as an officials, we need to do a better job of putting no calls on plays. We call too much, oh, that was contact, I got that foul. We got to be able to allow that contact to happen and put no air in the whistle and let play develop. So that's kind of be the point of that. But hopefully you can make it next week. I know some of you are going to be working because it's in the middle of the season, but if you're not, I will be here and I will play some videos for an hour. So come out and join us if you can.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Buddy.
Have a good night, everybody.